edition of Better Tech, Better Living. I'm Hans Seckman, the host of our merry little show, and so glad that you'll be joining us today or watching. If you are watching a recording, please make sure and subscribe to one of the channels so you can join us live. That way you can add your comments, questions, and we are happy to take them with whoever our particular guest is. If you have any ideas or potential guests for a future topic, please let me know. I'm happy to have them on as well. I am very honored to welcome today to the show Allison Straker. Allison, I met through the conference circuit. Her reputation was so well known that my coworker and I, Cole, actually my boss, introduced me to Allison and said, do whatever you can to recruit her. I want her working on our team. She is amazing. And he did not sell her short. She is just a tremendous person, a powerful speaker. She is a thought leader in her space and really a great example of somebody who has really made a phenomenal career, a role model, and is also giving back. So, Allison, thank you for joining.
Thank you, Hans. And I'm the one who's honored to be here today. It's great to be here and to chat with you. Always fun. Oops, Hans, I'm not hearing you. And you're back.
And sorry, folks, I disappeared to the internet for a minute there. Apparently, there might be a little bit of a bug in the chat today. So when I clicked it, it booted me out. So I will not be clicking there anymore. So I'll catch up on the comments and just live stream them from now, but we'll roll with it. So once again, thanks for being here, Allison.
Thank you. And by the way, I had that same issue. Luckily for me, it was before we went live. Or you could blame me for kicking you out.
No, I prefer to fail in public. I am, my aspiration in life is to be the person who is the before picture or the before in any of the infomercials, like the person who can't open a container of milk. That's the person I want to be in life because the expectations are so low.
Well, the before that you are for me is, I know one of the things you wanted to talk about was like sort of empowerment and inspiration. And listening to you speak is definitely inspiration for me. And that's what got me into speaking.
Well, thank you. That's quite an honor. So how did this come to be? So probably like anyone, you accidentally got a job in IT and were never able to escape. Where did your career path start? What brought you to speaking? And, because I'd love for people to hear some of the lessons and ways that they can take inspiration from what you've done and now how you've put yourself in a position to even give back to our community.
So for me, it was a little less accidental, the IT thing. You're right. Most people are accidental. Partly accidental. I was thinking of getting into health. And then I was going to be an occupational therapist, but I did computers in school because, needed to do something. And I enjoyed some of it and realized what I didn't like and what I liked and thought, okay, have this funky degree. What can I do with it? So that's how I got into IT, started working in QA. Didn't love that. Got into the BA world. Loved that a lot better. Because for me, it was all about interacting with people, getting to understand what their concerns were and helping them in terms of, figuring out their problems and helping them to come to a solution that would work for them. And so that was my IT journey, my IT road.
Wonderful. Well, welcome, Michael and Fraser. Glad you could join the show and everyone else who's viewing. So, Allison, for those who might not know, what is a BA and what's their role in an organization? Why are they so critical to the success of an IT group?
So it's an interesting question because ITers tend to have their own language and the business has their own language. And so you need to have, as silly as it sounds, even though they technically both speak the same language, you kind of need to have someone who can pull the two together and can sort of essentially translate between the two. And so that's why a BA's sort of role came about. You need to have someone who can take what it is that that the business is actually looking for, take that, translate to the business, to the technology team. They'll come back with something, translate that back to the business, and there's that constant back and forth until you get to a common understanding that everyone's on board with. And of course, it's all happily ever after. There's no changes, there's no issues after that.
Of course, we always get it right the first time. That's one of the best things about IT.
Absolutely.
So what are some of the skills, what are some of your strengths that you brought to the role that helped you be successful? And what are some of the areas that you saw you needed to grow and develop in? Because we're never perfect for a job.
Right. For me, it's always been connecting with people, finding out what their true needs were. I guess sort of counter to that, I've always been a shy person. And so it's been, you have to kind of push yourself to speak to people, to continue to ask them questions when sometimes you're just like, let me just leave it. Yeah, they said they want a red button. They want a red button, and not ask the probing questions that you need to ask to really get to end of job. So that's been, one of the struggles that I've had to go through over time. One of the things I guess I learned about myself is that I like to push myself. I like to see how I can go from point A to point B, and see that journey and that transition and how I've grown through my life. And so, I've become a lot more confident in talking to people, pretend that I'm not shy at all. And, somehow I've been able to pull it off so far. Don't tell anyone.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of, amazingly enough, there's a lot of hidden introverts who become public speakers or end up doing broadcasts like this. So for those of you who are just joining, we're here with Allison Straker, who started off her career as a business analyst, parlayed that into an exceptional career as a public speaker, and is now a research analyst with Infotech Research Group, and even hosts several of their LinkedIn live shows. She has a show upcoming, and maybe you could tell us a little bit about that topic and how people can tune in to the show.
Yeah, so that's coming up. So there's a LinkedIn Live that will be happening on February 18th. And I'll be speaking with Rob Meikle. He was a CIO for a few different places, including the City of Toronto, City of Brampton, and other places. So he's been, he's got a lot of expertise, a lot of knowledge. So it's really been great working with him. We are going to be talking, though, about just some of the social and cultural changes that have been going on and that need to go on in the world today. So in case anyone didn't know, we're in a pandemic. Sorry, spoiler alert. So that's happened, and that's changed the world for most of us. I'm not sure, I don't know anyone who hasn't, but I don't want to, exclude those people who, for some reason, didn't impact them. And the other change we've had is there's an increased awareness of social injustice. And as much as, sometimes people think, well, does that have anything to do with the workplace? But it does. Both of those, even though they're, sort of outside of the office, they both impact our day-to-day lives as well. And so those are things that we want to talk about. We want to kind of tie those two topics together and really talk about, what they have to do with each other and how leaders can support their employees through these cultural changes.
Absolutely. And I've seen Rob speak as a keynote speaker at some of our events, and it's almost like the Energizer Bunny was a CIO, just tremendous. So if you get the chance, please don't miss that. If not, definitely check out the recording. And you mentioned something that's really important. February is Black History Month. There is finally, maybe even not enough, but far more attention on social injustice, inequality, maybe unintentional or latent bias that exists in the workplace and in society, that really it's helping a lot of people realize things that just you might have taken for granted. What are some of the ways that someone can get involved, whether it's their workspace, whether it's their community, to try and help improve not only diversity, but also fair treatment and equal opportunities in the workplace? What are some things that, just the average person who might not be a CIO level Rob, but like the yous and me's of the world who are working with teams? What are some things that we could potentially do to help?
I think the first thing is to be aware. To be aware of the fact that there are challenges, that we're not all experiencing the challenges in the same way. And to be aware could mean that you're talking to, a close friend who is willing to share that information with you. But in a lot of cases, Google can be your best friend. So, it could be, just having an understanding what books are out there, what resources are out there, that can provide you with some kind of an understanding of some of the challenges, of some of the successes as well that people have had, and, what you can do to amplify voices as well. The good thing I've noticed, to your point, there is a lot more attention being paid. The other day I turned on the TV and I saw they had a Black History Month special with, different, they're celebrating different, people, talented people, and some of what they did. And they're doing that across many different forms and many different industries. And I think that's wonderful. So, I mean, even again, just paying attention to how people can be celebrated and being aware of that is one step. But the other step is, like you kind of alluded to, being aware of why this is important, why this is an issue. Understanding that this is not picking out one group and deciding to highlight them for a day or a month or something like that, but this is due to systemic injustices that have happened in the world, that affect people, that have been affecting people for a long time. And people are still trying to figure out ways to sort of recover from that, or to, succeed despite that.
Right. And one of the challenges, and we've seen this, IT and even throughout STEM, historically was a very male dominated, very white dominated industry, at least in North America. And we've seen that change. But one of the challenges or opportunities we have is to inspire the next generation, the next group moving on, by seeing people that are like them in positions of authority, positions of influence. So one of the great things that I think you've done is, when you're out speaking, when you're in the community, when you're at work and influencing, and with the shows you're doing and broadcasting, you're taking really great information, but portraying it from somebody, to help inspire potentially whoever could be the little mini Allison next, or mini Allison who could be following in your footsteps. So why is it important for people to see, more of a diverse representation in the people that they see, the people that they respect, and seeing what they're really capable of?
Being the only, or being one of the only, is a really lonely feeling. You want people that you can relate to, that you can actually see yourself in, that you can feel like there's a path forward for you. When you see people who look like you and they've had setbacks, it makes you feel like, well, if they can't make it and they've got all these wonderful things in their favor, what chance do I have? Should I even bother trying? So you do want to have examples. Now, obviously we know that people have succeeded. They have been the first, they have been the only, but there's also a lot of pressure and stress on those first and those only. And I think it's important that we try to make sure that as we move forward into the future, that we reduce that as much as possible, that there are positive examples of people and their successes, that, again, we don't have those cases of the onlys, that people understand that they do have a path forward. And, hopefully this is not even an issue. I think I'm being overly idealistic by saying that, but truth of the matter is that's the goal that we need to move toward.
Fantastic. And, we met through the speaker circuit. And that's one way that you've been able to get out and share not only your content, but your passion for what it is you do. How did that happen? How do you go, as you mentioned it, from being a little bit shy to being willing to be up on stage in front of a group of people, not just talking to them, but talking to them as the perceived expert in a domain, in a conference with people who could be even more experts than you and I in the room? How did you get started, and what encouraged you to take those first steps?
Well, there's two things in what you just said in that little intro that stood out to me. One is the word perceived, because it's true. I didn't realize, I guess, until I started speaking, how speakers don't necessarily know everything.
True.
But two, I guess the other thing is I'm glad you didn't talk to me before the first time I spoke about how there may be people who know more than me in the audience. Otherwise, I might have been really petrified and not gone out there at all. But no, I think for me, it was a lot of, I like to push myself because I guess I grew up thinking that, or with the understanding that I should be able to do anything I want to do. And I wanted to just push myself to do more than what I was doing that day. So I'd look at all these speakers, you and all the other great speakers that they had at the conference, and I'm like, well, can I try it? I've been doing this for a while. A little bit of my imposter syndrome, not all, but a little bit of the imposter syndrome had worn off, and I thought, I think I know some of what I'm doing, not all of it, but some of it. I can talk to those pieces. And so I pushed myself to do the first talk, and it was really, it was a high, gotta admit. It was kind of cool, people actually listened to what I said. Not that many people walked out of the room, which was great. Hey, you gotta look for whatever small miracles you can find. People ask questions at the end. That's always a good sign. And I remember there was myself and there was another lady who it was our first time speaking, and we were chatting before our talks. We both actually had our talks at the same time. So afterwards, we both like kind of bounded into the into the speaker room, and we were all excited, and and because we were on this high, it was a good experience. It was a positive experience for both of us. And so after that, I realized, you know what? As long as I have something I can talk about, I'll continue to do this. It's been a great journey ever since.
And I love how you describe it as a high, because it's not that we get the high from being seen in the room as the expert, but the connection we're making with people in the room, the fact that for that amount of time, the preparation and sharing, even in a track session, that people are getting value out of what we had to share, and it's fostering conversations, and they're sharing their experience. And it's really that, at least for me, that satisfaction of feeling you really made a connection and helped people that might have had to struggle or learn that little piece on their own.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the appeals too when you and Cole brought me into where we're working now, into Infotech. Because while I wouldn't be on a stage necessarily, I'd have that opportunity to speak to people and to influence and to provide them with knowledge that they, might not have had in the past. It is a high, and it is exciting to be able to do that.
And with Infotech, they recognized your talent, that you were really great in front of the camera. As unfortunately, all of our live events have been canceled for the foreseeable future. So what encouraged you to then try the same thing but in a different medium? Because it's a lot harder doing this isolated behind a camera where you don't have the audience, you can't read engage nearly as well. What encouraged you to be part of the group's social influencers and part of the networking team doing some of the LinkedIn live events?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe just a little bit of mental issues. I'm just kidding.
Don't we all?
I guess I just saw it as a little bit of an extension to your point. We don't have that ability to do it in person. And I still want to have those connections with people. I still want to be able to talk to people and do the same kinds of things that I would do if we had the ability to all be in person. And so, doing things like LinkedIn Lives like this today are my opportunity to try that in the comfort of my own home.
It does make it easier, and you can't beat the commute from bedroom to kitchen to office.
For sure. My commute luckily was short before, but it's a lot shorter now.
Yep. One of the things we've seen, with our coworkers in previous jobs and with a lot of the members we end up coaching and helping is we find people who seem trapped in their role or in the particular level for the role, whether they're wanting to change in and maybe they're a BA like you were, and now they want to try some time as a product owner. What's some advice? What are some tips that you could share for people as they're trying to advance their career, not necessarily into management, but continuing to grow and develop? What are some of the tricks or lessons you learned that you would have loved to have told yourself back earlier in your career?
Um, there's a few. I guess there's a few different things. I mean, one is to talk to people. I guess you can never really underestimate networking.
Yeah.
That's how I got into infotech. As much as infotech leverages the skills that I've had in the past, it's a totally different thing that we do at infotech.
Yep.
And so it's through getting to know you and Cole that I was able to get exposure to infotech and get hired there. So networking, you can never underestimate that. And even if you don't get a job specifically from somebody just learning from some of their experiences. Why fail on your own when you can learn from someone else's failures? So get to know, what they've done, what's worked for them, what hasn't worked for them, what challenges they find, because maybe from some of the good and bad challenges that they tell you about, maybe you might find that this isn't the role you want to move to, or maybe it is, but in a different kind of company or in a different way of looking at things. Some of that is what you can really get from when you talk to people.
Fantastic. And we had Leslie on the last show talking about building a personal brand. And one of the things we talked about was building out that network, not only so you have people that you can reach out to for advice or learning more about what their role is and see if it's for you, but that can also be a great way to transition into a team, transition into a new company by talking to these people and learning a little bit more about them. Then if you make that connection, if they see the value you could bring, often they can recommend you into an organization. So that networking it's very hard. I'm very introverted. I hate networking. It's very challenging, but it is something we've got to, just like speaking, force ourselves out of the comfort zone and give it a shot.
Absolutely. And I mean, there's other forms of networking. I think a lot of people think about networking is, in the real world, in the non-virtual world, I go to this event.
Yeah.
I guess in the old days it was with a stack of business cards, or in today's world with my LinkedIn on my phone or something like that. And I got to talk to all these strangers, and who wants to do that? Maybe I'll just stay at home and not bother with that networking. But I think networking, there's different ways of networking. One of the things I remember speaking to someone about recently was networking could be that you join a committee. And in fact, actually, that was my kind of connection to BA World. I just saw Amy's on here as well, and Amy brought me into BA World as part of the advisory board, and that's how I got to know people there as well. So that's a form of networking. I'm also part of a Women in Tech group. I'm one of their co-leads, and so for the Toronto area, and so getting to know people there is another way of connecting, working with people. There's two other leads that I work with. I feel like I know them as well as some of my colleagues that I work with on a day-to-day basis, because we chat to work on the stuff that we're working on through that. At the office, at the virtual office, we formed, we talked about the LinkedIn Live that was organized by, there's a affinity or employee resource group that we have called Black Professionals at Infotech. And so work closely with people there. That's another form of networking, working with people on a committee, as you try to accomplish some goal or goals. So all of those are essentially ways of networking. You're showcasing some of your skills and your talents and your abilities, or your potential even, in another way. So that's always excellent as well.
Awesome. And I second Amy's comments that you are the best and phenomenal and a great part of the team. We were working together. You abandoned us to learn a new domain and further your career, which I absolutely support, even though I have a little tear that we don't get to work as closely together anymore. So you mentioned women in tech. What are some of the ways that group is helping? How could people get involved, either, kind of from more that mid or senior career where they may be able to mentor or help, or for people that are starting off, or maybe even, even thinking in school and trying to decide, is this a career? Is this an area for me? What are some ways that these groups can help people?
Yeah, and that's a great question. The WIT Network it's a great group. They have a lot of different activities and a lot of different opportunities to interact and to learn. So they have networking. In today's world, of course, it's all virtual, but we still have, virtual networking. There's different learning opportunities. And some of those are, I'm going to call them more soft skills, but some of them are also some things that you might want to take and apply on the job. So I know they had, I'm trying to remember now specifically what it was. I can't remember if it was Azure training that they had. I didn't participate in it, but I know that they had some technical training in there as well. Where the Toronto chapter, we're looking at doing a session soon on stress and burnout, because no one's experiencing that now in this kind of world. But so there's more on the soft side of things, and there's more practical things. These are all opportunities that groups like the WIT Network are presenting to people so that they have that opportunity to grow their skills. There's a leadership program called Athena that they also have, again, to support people in leadership, to get some of the leadership skills so that they can advance through their career as well. So there's a lot of opportunities. There's networking and there's learning that by participating in these kind of groups, you can actually grow your career.
Yep. And if you have an interest in helping a group like that, or potentially speaking at an event, you have something that you can offer. It's not exclusively, women. It is supporting women in technology, but that does not mean that they openly discriminate. I've had a chance to speak for the Atlanta chapter previously, which was a wonderful experience. Got to meet some just tremendous individuals, which were wonderful. So if anyone out there is interested in participating in the group, reach out, contact people like Allison and say, hey, where are some of your needs? Here's some of the things I can offer. And you never know what that could lead to, or you never know who you might find. You might find a gem like Allison out there in one of Amy's events and get the chance to work with her and spend some more time before she skyrockets off to a new career. Maybe, I don't know, Prime Minister, CIO one day, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I don't know about all that just yet. Baby steps.
Yeah.
But no, definitely love that. Like, definitely reach out if you. Again, there's opportunities to give back to. I'm glad you talked about speaking. The last event that I did that was in person was for International Women's Day. They had the WIT Network had it in Toronto last year. And there were both men and women speaking there, which was excellent, because to your point, it isn't just obviously women want to empower women, but men want to empower women as well. And so we want to see that. We want to hear that. So that's always excellent to have, all parties there at the table.
Well, Michael mentions that, and this has been kind of a theme that I've seen on a lot of the shows on HAPS, which is really good to see people coming out and talking about it, is potentially the burnout, the depression, the isolation that we've, in this new lockdown. And depending on where you are, on a scale from Canada to Florida, in terms of how far you're locked down, what are some of the ways you've coped, adjusted, or kept your sanity during this time period?
Oh, so we're assuming that I'm sane still. Okay.
Or
No,
trying
I'm
to
just
keep
kidding.
your
I'm just kidding.
sanity?
um, Definitely keeping connected with people. Yes, we can't see them all in person necessarily, but staying connected however you can. Phone, sometimes video is overwhelming. Phone is great. Just reaching out to them, staying connected. I chat with my family basically every day. Talk to people at work, which is great too. Don't talk to you enough. That's probably one thing I need to fix.
You've been too busy. You've been
I know it
slammed
has
lately.
been.
I got to
I
catch you in between projects.
But yeah, no, definitely keeping connected. I think the last time, or one of the last times you and I chatted, was about like just finding hobbies. So one of the things I'm always interested in design, but like in interiors and stuff, but just been too busy and haven't really had the time to focus on it. So now that I'm home, I still haven't had the time to focus on it, but staring at the same four walls has gotten kind of tired. So I've started to, do what I could to refresh my place so that hopefully those four walls, one wall's already painted, the other wall still needs to be painted, but that'll have another view of things. I'm in a condo and they've just replaced my front door, so I'm loving the fact it's evening right now, but in the day I get a lot of daylight coming in. That's been amazing for me, a lot more daylight than I've had in the past. So just little things that you can kind of change your view, change your perspective on things. Those are great. Whether it's changing your interior, hearing voices on the phone, or going for walks. I haven't done that enough, but it's definitely something that I look forward to when the weather gets a little bit nicer.
Yeah, in Toronto, in the middle of a nor'easter and huge snowstorm, maybe not the best time to go walking.
I will do it soon once the weather gets a little bit better. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I've been neglectful. The last couple days, I'm like, this is going to be great. It's beautiful weather here. I'm going to go on a walk, and then by the time I leave my basement cocoon office and look outside, I'm like, it's already dark. I worked too late again. I need to stop doing this.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel like I need to put a timer on so that it actually tells me go outside, enjoy the sunshine before I come up with more excuses like it's too dark, the cold, whatever, you can't help. But at least things getting out during the daytime would be great.
Yeah, and I love how you mentioned like one of your passions is interior design, and even though it may be limited now, you're still finding a way to refresh where you are. Not so long ago, I was kind of, I wouldn't say burnout, but I was kind of in a rut, and I just realized I needed to do something for me to refresh. So for me, it was getting back and doing some photography, even if it was silly, but just getting out there and trying to see the world a little differently, try and capture a piece of that, and make sure that at least once a month, that's what I'm shooting for now, I'm getting out and doing something like that. And it's been amazing how much something that simple can recharge you.
Yeah, I think I stole your idea. I'm not trying to be the photographer of the year or anything like that. Just I don't have a fancy camera, just my phone. But when I do go for walks, I usually like to go to a destination when I'm walking. I'll go to a store or I'll go with everything closed down. I don't have those kind of opportunities. So now, to your point, I'll go for a walk and look for something to take a picture of. Whether it's, oh, look at that leaf that looks weird, or look at the snow, or something odd, or even not odd that just looks cool. Take a picture and then continue on my merry way.
Fantastic. Well, we're coming close to the top of the hour where we'll be closing out. If you have any questions for Allison, please throw them in the chat. Love to hear from you. Been some great and very supportive comments. Really appreciate that. Especially now, we've got to be a little more mindful about our positivity, recognizing people, looking for signs of stress and overwork. Hint, hint. With their employees, because I know you've been working furiously lately, but hopefully the project is coming to a point where you'll be able to.
Coming to a close.
Excellent.
Phew.
Well, one of the things that Michael mentioned, and this kind of, I think, blends a lot of the things we were talking about, is, a number of us have discovered HAPS recently. It's great that this platform is available. It's free. It gives you a chance to reach out, but really not only share like we do when we're speaking or sharing particular content, but reach out and even make connections with people all over the world. I saw, and I don't want to crash the system again and scroll up. We've got people from Edinburgh and all over the world. So, it's late at night for some of them, early in the morning for others. Just phenomenal that, they can join. And so even, anyone who has an interest, start up a show, start up a conversation, pick something that you're interested in and open that dialogue. You never know what you're going to share or what you're going to hear that could really make a big difference in your life or someone else's.
Yeah, thank you for introducing it to me. I've never been on this until today, so that's awesome.
I have to give full props to Michael Bathurst, who introduced this to me when I was trying to find a way of broadcasting and looking for a way of building a content library to be an extension of some of the blog posts and things I was writing. And also, one of the things I've missed, like you, is when we're at the events. Part of it is, it's just amazing to be in the room and sharing a presentation, but in between sessions, at lunch, afterwards, literally at the bar every night, and just visiting with peers and hearing their stories and swapping the good things and the bad things that have happened have been just, it's one of the things I've missed. And like you said, we really need to reach out and try and capture those connections, but we have to be a little more deliberately, at least for a while longer.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I do miss, just turning around, running into somebody at an event or at the office. But, I'm glad that there are ways that we can still stay connected.
Yeah. And as Amy said, we may be physically close, like living, for those who are living in Toronto and not that far apart. But, when we're on a platform like this or reaching out virtually, there really is no distance. So we're just as close. It just, we got to take a little more effort to bridge that connection. So thinking about, we talked about hit a number of areas, and what we really wanted to do is, focus on that empowerment and that positivity and helping lift others up. We all want to be the dumbest, worst person on a team, because think how exciting that team would be if everyone that we were working with was better than us. What are some final thoughts that you want to share for people, who to help give them the courage to further empower their career, take more action, maybe take that risk and make a change if they're ready for something different?
Yeah, I would say definitely the connections. And even to your point about the empowerment, it's something that I've gotten a lot out of is reaching out to people and just kind of identifying ways that I could help them, if possible. So providing them with any advice or any thoughts. And it doesn't have to be that that's your job. It could just be that it's your friend, a friend of a friend, someone that you happen to connect with on LinkedIn, on HAPS, on wherever it is. Finding ways to uplift them, checking in on people. I think at this time, it's pretty stressful. People are feeling isolated. It's a very unique time that we haven't gone through before. So definitely reaching out and connecting with people is important.
Fantastic. And as a reminder for anyone who's joined, since we brought this up, you have the, honor and opportunity to do a LinkedIn live broadcast with Rob Markle coming up. Tell us a little bit about that and how people can tune in and see the two of you, because both of you are amazing.
Oh, thank you. So it'll be on February 18th. Now I can't remember if it's 12 or 1 p.m., but you can access it through Eastern. But you can access it through the Infotech LinkedIn webpage. From the LinkedIn site, you can find out all the details. You can register. You can get information on when it's going live and chat with us then.
Fantastic. So everyone, don't miss that. I hope you will join me in encouraging Allison to continue to broadcast here, share her expertise. She's got a wealth of experience, just an amazing person to work with. It's been an honor to not only know her, but to work with her. And so I hope that you'll take inspiration from her story and her presence, and take that step. It for none of us, the first time went very well. Second time, not really well either. But eventually you get into a flow and it really becomes better. How many times would you say you were speaking, whether it's in a small group with one of your employers or at a conference, before you really just felt you were in the groove and it was really starting to feel good and comfortable? How long did that take for you?
I'm not sure, but I'm sure it took a while. It first would have been, just on the phone talking to business partners and stuff, and just taking that time to start to feel comfortable in saying whatever I had to say, or expressing whatever I needed to express. It's definitely, I agree with you 100%. It's definitely not an overnight thing. It does take a while to feel that comfort level. It's funny. I think in any industry, when people look and they see someone as an overnight success, that's never the case. They usually work, for years and a long time, spend a lot of energy and time to get to wherever it is that they are today.
Fantastic. And so Michael Bathurst hosts a light business chat Sundays at 10 a.m. Eastern time. Love to have you on the show if you're available one Sunday, and it's just popping in for a while, talking with other professionals about whatever's going on in the world, whatever we want to share. It's kind of a light networking and light chat, but hitting more on the business and professional side. So would love you and other people who are interested in joining, please reach out to Michael, and would love to also have you on that show.
Awesome. Sounds awesome.
So closing out, I was thinking, so we've both done a fair share of public speaking. Is there a particular story or instance that you would say was rewarding, inspirational, or panic-inducing that you overcame that you could share with the audience? I thought that might be a good way to end the show, since that's also how we met.
I would say panic-inducing was that first time when I spoke live in front of people. As much as I got my topic, I tried to come up with a way of making that topic interesting. That's always a challenging, because essentially you're kind of talking about stuff that someone else has talked about before. So how do you make it something unique and interesting enough that they're actually going to walk into your session and feel like they got something out of it? So there was that challenge. Bunch of people that I didn't know who were going to be there. Wasn't sure what their reaction was going to be. So it was definitely nerve-wracking. But I've survived it. Again, nobody threw things at me. No tomatoes. Not a lot of people walked out. I'm sure some did. I don't, remember exactly, but I'm sure some did. But not a lot of people. Most of the people were there at the end. So I consider that a win. Got to look on the positive side.
Fantastic. And we've both survived. I was at a international conference speaking on, for project teams, what do project teams need to consider for security in their software projects that they might not know? Because if you're not a security professional, what is it you need to know? How does it work? What do you need to be concerned with in your projects? And through the first part of it, I kept getting these really extremely pointed questions, and then finally a guy in the front row said, "This isn't how I would present this at all. Like, this isn't even close to how detailed the information needs to be." And I was like, "Could you explain that?" And he goes, "I've spent 20 years as a security professional." And I'm like, "This is an introduction for the people you have to work with. Why are you here?" And he's like, exactly. "I don't know." And he got up and left. And I'm like, I feel bad I wasted your time, but this was trying to get project teams to ask those first few questions and to call you for help. I never meant for you to be in the room, but weird things like that do happen.
It's true. And at least you get a funny story out of it.
Absolutely. You roll with it. And then after that, well, any other question someone here asked probably isn't going to be as pointed, because that person could have schooled me 100 different ways, and I think I got off easy. Well, fantastic. Well, Allison, thank you so much for taking time after another busy day. It was wonderful, as always, to talk to you. And I really appreciate you sharing your story, your inspiration, and the fact that you continue to put yourself out there. You continue to work hard to help other people. I know that will come back and reward you as well. And so thank you for taking time and being with us today.
Thanks for having me. Always great to chat with you, Hans.
Fantastic. Well, thank you everyone for joining. Please, it helps everyone out a lot by subscribing so you get notifications. It doesn't cost you anything. If you're interested in this or any of the other shows, please reach out. We'd love to continue the dialogue, and let us know if you find this valuable. Keep us informed. Tell us what you'd like so that we can adjust, because we're here because we want to share and help everyone. So everyone, stay safe, stay healthy. Appreciate it, and have a great rest of whatever your day is.